Good day, class. Today we'll be examining a special topic, power supply for electrical consumer units. So the title is power supply for domestic electrical installation. Most of the time, the word domestic electrical installation have to do with residential wiring system. Power supply for domestic electrical installation. So briefly, we have three stages of power. The first one is generation. This where electricity is being generated. Most of the time we have power stations. We have hydro, we have thermal, we have heat power station. And in Nigeria, we make use of hydro power station and thermal power station. And because of power failure, today we also have what we call solar power supply system. From the conventional method, from generation, we have transmission line. From transmission, we now have our distribution. And today we'll be focusing on distribution line. And that is why we call it power supply for domestic electrical installation. In distribution line, it means this is the stage whereby electricity is utilized for local consumption. For local At this stage, we have a system. The first system is called three-phase 4-wire system. In three-phase 4-wire system, we have line 1, line 2, and neutral. Line 1, line 2, line 3, and neutral. Line 1 is red in color coding. Line 2 is yellow in color coding. Line 3 is blue in color coding. And neutral is black in color coding. Our distribution line is wire with three-phase 4-wire system. Power supply for consumer units now comes because from this three-phase, we can generate what we call single-phase power supply. That is, the voltage across line 1 and neutral is 220 volts to 240 volts. The voltage value across any phase and neutral is measured from 220 volts to 240 volts. And this is single-phase power supply to the consumer units. And we can also call it single-phase power supply for domestic electrical installation. And the second stage is three-phase. And in three-phase, we also use three-phase 4-wire system. Let me make a point here. Most of the load in domestic electrical installation are single-phase load. Lighting, for example, is purely a single-phase load. And because of that, in three-phase power supply system, we also have to have means of having a single-phase power supply because of lighting cycle. So this is the first power supply range, and the second one is the three-phase. The three-phase four-wire system. In this system, as I've said earlier on, we have line 1, line 2, line 3, neutral. Here, the voltage value across a phase to another, the voltage value across a phase. That phase sometimes can be called a line to another is between 380 volts to 415 volts. So the voltage across line 1 and line 2, for example, is between 380 volts to 415 volts. Across the voltage value across line 2 and line 3 is also between 380 volts to 415 volts. And of course, this line 1 and line 2 and line what? Line 3, and of course, line 1 and line 3 also is measured as 380 volts to 415 volts. Now, because of lightning circuits, this system also requires single phase. So the voltage value of any phase to neutral is measured as 220 volts to 240 volts. However, in this system, from the transformer points to the consumer units of any building, there's something we call allowable voltage drop, and it must not exceed 6%. So 6% of 240 and 6% in all the cycles. That is why the value is always varied from 220, 230, 240 for single phase. For three phase, 380, 400, and 415 is also allowed. Sometimes you have 390, so it's still three-phase power supply. And from here, then you can now connect other circuits. So you can see the main point is that for any domestic electrical installation, the source of power is very key, and the value that we'll be considering is either single phase or three phase. Once we mention single phase, we are talking about 220 volts to 450 volts, to 240 volts. And once we measure three phase, we are talking about 380 to 415 volts. So power supply for domestic electrical installation is either single phase supply or three phase four-wire system supply. And mostly in this our system, we make use of single phase. However, three phase is also used. So when we are now talking about single phase, what should come to your mind is the voltage value, which is 220 to 240. And when we talk about three phase, we are talking about voltage value of 380 volts to 415 volts. So these are the two major power supply for domestic electrical installation. Thank you.